Our first item on our agenda is the call to order and the roll call. Gwen, could you call roll, please?
Here.
Ms. Hendricks?
Here.
Mr. Keeley?
Here.
Ms. Ortega for the Director of Finance? Chairperson Dillon, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item number 1, action, approval of the committee agenda.
Move the approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Harry, seconded by Sharon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Any abstentions? We've approved our agenda. Next action item is our approval of our minutes from the July 13th Compensation Committee meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved by Harry, seconded by Sharon. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nay? Abstentions? And our minutes have been approved. So then we have the consent agenda, the disclosure of incentives for statutory positions for the 2016-2017 plan year. There was a letter at our seats yesterday from a member. There was a request for us to read it into the record. That's not something that the committee does, but we will add that to the printed record of the meeting, or add it to the record of the meeting. So you all had a printed copy, and I think, Brian, we've got printed copies for the public.
I believe so. They should be back there.
Okay. All righty. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the disclosure of the incentives.
So moved.
Oh, it's information? Well, no, we'll vote. That's fine. Vote, correct? I thought it was an action item.
No, it's just a disclosure. You do this annually.
Okay.
They're delegate.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about the ones we're doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
I'm thinking of the ones tomorrow. Never mind. I'll say what I just said tomorrow. All righty. So you have those in your board book.
Tomorrow, then.
I'm getting so confused. So action items. Melissa, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to you. Technical housekeeping, evaluation of the global equity performance benchmark. And I see Neil has joined you at the table.
Thank you. So this is a technical housekeeping item to update the non-U.S. equity benchmark definition within the administrative procedures of the comp policy. The update reflects changes that were made to the global equity policy that were approved at the June 2016 Investment Committee, where non-U.S. policy benchmark MSCI ACWX US was revised to include small cap stocks and changed to MSCI ACWX Investable Market Index, IMI. This request will update the benchmark definition for the global equity staff's incentive compensation evaluation portion, and will also align staff's performance to expected investment objectives that will go into effect January 1st of 2018. Staff recommends the update be adopted by the comp committee to be included in the administrative procedures of the comp policy effective January 1st of 2018. Attached to the item is a opinion letter from PCA, and Neil Rule with PCA is here if the committee has questions. So I'll turn it back over to you,
Thanks,
Chairperson.
Melissa. At your seats, you had an updated copy of the policy, the one that's in our board book on page Comp 16 had some of the red and underlined new language. Didn't make it into the board book. It's the addition of IMI in line 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then the last sentence, the index returns from July 2014 to December 2017 represent the MSCI ACWI ex-US index. So that is new language. So wherever you see IMI, and then that last sentence is new. Are there any questions of Melissa or Neil? Entertain a motion.
Move the recommendation.
Second.
It's been moved by Harry, seconded by Sharon. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, nay? Any abstentions?
Thanks, Neil.
Thank you.
We've approved that policy. All right, Melissa, going forward.
Okay, so this, item 5, the incentive plan evaluation, a status update. This really serves as a check-in with the committee on its work plan for the 2017-18 year and activities related to the comprehensive incentive plan review. if you will indulge me, I'm going to go ahead and refresh the committee's understanding of how we arrived at the 2017-18 work plan activities, and also the discussions that did take place not only at this committee, but also the investment committee. So during the investment committee's 2016-17 work plan year, strides were made to evaluate and modify investment, asset, and strategy benchmarks. As a result of benchmark changes to the investment policy, the comp committee subsequently adopted benchmark revisions to the comp policy. And during this time, there was also feedback that was provided by your investment consultants about assessing the use of benchmarks for fund performance as well as incentive compensation. Then in February of 2017, the board directed the compensation committee to review the incentive compensation program in its 2017-18 work plan. In April 2017, a total rewards labor market analysis was presented to the comp committee. In addition to the committee making salary adjustments to some of the positions that the board has authority to do so with, the results also reflected that some of the positions were lagging competitive market, and that was due mainly to the long-term incentive that's offered in the peer group. Also at the April meeting, the committee discussed proposed topics for the 2017-18 work plan, and feedback from the committee supported a comprehensive incentive plan review, including evaluating different benchmarks for incentive comp purposes as well as performance of the fund. And there was also a request at that time for an education session on long-term incentives. In June, the board adopted the Compensation Committee 2017-18 work plan, and also at the June meeting, the Investment Committee adopted their work plan, and in that work plan included an analysis of investment business models, which potentially could present opportunities to manage investments differently. Fast forward to actually yesterday's discussion at the Investment Committee, you were introduced to, by Mike, Paul, and Margot, kind of an introduction to how CalSTRS investments might do business differently, and the work that they're doing in that arena, having discussions with Canadian pension systems as well as U.S. pension systems to find out what business models they have in place. And so with that, I will call your attention to Comp 24 with all of those activities that were going on behind the scenes, and would like to kind of open up a discussion with the committee about the options that are presented there in light of what I just kind of shared as highlights. I'll just go over those options real quick.
And Melissa, that was emailed to us after the board book came out, correct? Was it included in the original board book? I thought
Yes.
I got it mailed separately.
No. I think you should all have on comp, you mean the item itself? Mm-hmm. No, it should be the official, I mean, there were no changes that I'm aware of that were made.
There was nothing,
Yeah.
there was nothing attached for item 5 in the board.
In the board book. I think we emailed it, to the board.
Yes.
Yes, that's
But since
what
then
I
it's
was saying.
posted. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's
it
been
was
posted.
emailed to you separately, it was not originally in the original board book.
Correct. I
Thank you.
apologize, yeah.
That's
very
okay.
early on.
Just wanted to remind everybody so they were looking
Does-
for it in the right place.
And everyone has it right. Okay.
Thank you. I didn't mean to confuse anybody.
No, that's okay. Comp 24, I'll start off with the first option, which would be to continue with the evaluation plan. And if the committee desires to do that, we would need to have additional direction on how we would proceed. Definitely a comprehensive review would require additional meetings. I believe when we first established this in the work plan, I think it was Mr. Keeley that said, might be prudent to have separate subcommittee meetings to address this matter. We could, as option 2, so with option 1, we would want to discuss if we need additional meetings and also any additional resources that we'd want to leverage, consultants, your investment consultants, and also your primary compensation strategists. Option 2, we could delay the review and tackle some of the tasks that were rolled into the review, such as tasks that came out of the labor market analysis, which were that some positions were lagging competitive market. The other item we rolled into the review was the trigger item, which is the investment performance impact on incentives. So those are some things that we perhaps could still take on in the comp committee. And then finally, the last option is to delay the review and allow staff to kind of work behind the scenes while the investment committee is engaged in that business model project and evaluate the investment officer 2 position incentive opportunity. When we established the investment officer 3 incentive opportunity, it was back in, I think, 2007. And, the intent was always to go, it was a pilot when we established it, and the intent was always to kind of go back and look at the investment officer 2 as a consideration. And so that is another option. That is one of the options that staff recommends. That would make probably the best use of our time while we're pending the outcome results from the investment business model project study. So at this time, I'll just turn it back over to the committee for further discussion. Obviously, there's a lot to decide here. What I'm seeking is just direction from the committee. If you decide you want to push through with a comprehensive review, we can definitely do that. So
All right,
I will hand it back over to
We have
you.
people in line to speak. Come on up, Chris. Thank you. Sharon?
Okay.
So this is an information item, but you're asking for direction from us, correct? Is that?
Yes, in light of discussions that have taken place, and then also just the awareness of what's happening right now in the investment committee with the business model project study. And that really resonated yesterday, just hearing how really the business could change and making sure we're thoughtful about how incentive comp complements that.
Right.
And if we're kind of behind the scenes right now working and putting perhaps proposals in place or changes to the incentive plan, and, you've got a business model that could potentially change what that would look like, it might make
Right.
more sense to pause and let that,
Play out
Go
before we
forward,
made any
yeah.
changes to the incentive policy. Chris, go ahead.
I would add to what Melissa said, at the offsite, I think there was a lot of discussion amongst the board. Interesting proposals and ideas, but you're almost ahead of where the investment committee is. We're studying these. We're gonna come to you in May with some ideas. Then that sets up the investment committee to really set the schedule for 18-19 to decide which ones to pursue. So I think options 1 and 2 are gonna come to you, but probably next year at this time. And that you would be premature to look at them now. And that's why we're strongly recommending option 3, because that really is something that's been on the shelf. It just, other things have taken priorities, but it actually is very impactful to a large group within the investment office and something that's very worthwhile. You having a discussion about, we realize it's gonna be a long road, but we really want to tee it up.
It's always a long road with compensation. It's
Well,
always-
and this one especially, because it involves the state. It will also involve negotiations with the unions. CalPERS, I've had discussions with Ted and Wiley. They're fully supportive. They just have other stuff on their plate. So this isn't at the top. But, they're behind me saying, go, go, go. So they would catch up with us, I'm sure, if we pursued it. And I'm willing to devote the resources to, at least in our shop, to go at this.
So
So
it's,
I thought did I try?
Well, it's like, Chris, what you're saying is that even though that this was suggested when we had our offsite last year and the committee seemed to be gun-ho and ready to go for it, maybe we were putting the cart before the horse?
I think so, given where the investment committee, the pace that we've done this at the investment committee. I think the idea has merit, but we had to figure out, now we realize there's so many different business models, we got to figure out where we might likely end up.
All right, Sharon, go
So with
ahead.
that, I guess I would recommend that we go with option 3 and give you guys time. And certainly with our offsite discussion, it just seems like there's, as long as the idea of looking at long-term, it just kind of made sense to me when we first got started in this conversation back in the day to have some, conversation about the long-term incentive since we're long-term investors. So the concept, I think, is worth exploring, but we certainly want to do that in time frame that works with staff. So I would recommend that we direct staff to pursue number 3.
Are you making that a motion?
I am making it a motion.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. We have 3 people in line. Paul,
All right, I agree, so I'll just vote for the motion when it comes to a vote.
any other comments? Harry?
I don't need any more convincing.
Arena?
Can I clarify what option 3 is? Is option 3 to develop this as a proposal, bring it back to the board, and then go forward to Cali Char and the unions and, okay, fine.
We'll get into the labor market comparison, determine what's an appropriate incentive level relative to the other staff, bring it back to you.
Got it,
And then if that makes sense, we'll proceed with the collective bargaining process.
okay.
Unless you want to just smooth that. No.
So for the purposes of the
Brian?
record, the motion will make a reference to alternative 3 on comp 24.
Yes,
Okay, I just,
That is
yeah.
accurate.
we didn't
It's still
we didn't
numbered as six.
recite the entire paragraph. So I
Right,
just
no,
wanna
no,
make
no.
sure.
Do not want to-
There's a lot of information there.
Thank you.
All righty, and I see no further discussion, so I will put the question before the committee. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Any abstentions? All right, the motion is passed. Thank you, Melissa. This might be the shortest
Well, don't say
Comp-
that, don't say
comp
that.
committee.
We're gonna have
in history.
we're gonna have 10 minutes doing the
Just
approval of
the agenda.
or something.
All righty. I think that our information request was done through a motion, so we're good with that.
Actually, I do have an information request.
Go ahead, Harry.
See.
I think we've asked for this in the past, and I know it appears somewhere in the write-ups. The total amount that, of incentive compensation, so the total dollar amount that is awarded to employees of CalSTRS. You with me? Okay. So it would be the total dollar amount for a 10-year period. Over the last 10 years. So it would just be 2 columns. And I would add a 3rd column, the total number of employees that were received compensation, not by title, not by anything else, but the number of employees. Actually, there's a 4th column. There's a 4th column. So the total dollar amount, number of employees that received compensation, and the total number of employees in the organization in that given year. If that's it.
Compensation, but you
Ten-
need incentive. compensation.
Incentive compensation, yeah.
In 10 years,
Over
do you,
10-year period.
we haven't been doing this much longer than 10 years. If we've done it 11, you want all 11?
It's about, I think it's just about 10.
Is it,
For as long as we have it, probably.
yeah, I think,
We'll give you. what
yeah,
we
like
have.
a decade. It's a good,
Yeah.
decade's
Full-time
nice
number.
number. Okay, thank you.
All righty. Any other comments? Harry, I guess somehow I got you in there again.
No? That's it.
There you
Thanks,
go.
Dana.
That's all right. All right, draft agenda for the meeting that we will have in February.
So Dana, I just want to bring to your attention, I think there might have been an error. It has closed session here on the work plan and also on the draft agenda, so I kind of want to call that out. I'm not so sure what we would have a discussion relative to the succession planning that would be closed session. And also
Item number
with-
7.
Yeah, and also with that being said, we've had quite a bit of discussions about succession planning, so perhaps having a conversation here about, what would the committee's expectation be for that particular item? We had the discussion at the offsite with GH Smart, of course, on the heels of just what happened in board governance. or culture. So I, look to the committee as far as we can, what that discussion, what you would like for staff to work on to bring back in February for that discussion, if you feel that you need to still have that discussion.
I think we're going to have a conversation tomorrow when we do finish up the board self-evaluation that
Okay.
would give you some direction. Will give us some direction, which would then give you just some direction.
Okay.
Do you want to keep it as a closed session, as a placeholder, or do you want to just add it to the agenda when and if we decide to move, in whatever direction we decide to move?
Yeah, the letter.
Okay, so let's go ahead and strike it now.
Okay.
And that would be it. Alrighty?
Yep.
Any other changes? Gwen, I think our request is probably pretty fresh in our minds. I don't think you need to repeat it. And that pretty much, opportunity for statements from the public. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak? Then I will say this is the quickest compensation
Okay, we
committee
can
we've
say
ever
that
had. We are adjourned.